Class Education presenta un espacio que te brinda información de valor referente a la amplia gama de programas y beneficios de estudiar en Canadá para que tomes la mejor decisión. Class TV. No importa lo lento que pueda ser el camino, mientras no te detengas en lograr quien quieres ser. A lo largo de esta pandemia, todos aprendimos nuevas formas de vivir, de ser y de trabajar. Sin duda, un desafío retador, pero también una oportunidad de aprender a mantenernos cerca de ti, porque lograr tu sueño de estudiar en Canadá también es nuestro sueño. Los retos de la vida no están ahí para paralizarte, sino para ayudarte a descubrir quién eres. En Canadá, ahora el futuro es más claro. Poco a poco la normalidad está de vuelta. Canadá te necesita para participar en su sistema educativo, laboral y para que seas parte de su economía. Vuelve a inspirarte en tu sueño de estudiar, trabajar y quedarte a vivir en Canadá. No olvides lo aprendido, solo hay un hoy. Todo empieza aquí y ahora. Hazlo con Class Education.
We believe a place can change your life. An established university with proud scholars, chairs, and award holders, where students are prepared for real-world jobs, to critically think and change the world. With unique programs you won't find anywhere else, a place that values collaboration as much as competition, with national varsity sports teams, and home to Canada's 11-time CIS champion men's basketball team. With over 1,000 research projects underway, more than $55 million in sponsored funding, and over $42 million in scholarships and bursaries awarded to undergraduates and graduates alike. A place like no other. Carleton University, Canada's capital university.
Class Education presenta un espacio que te brinda información de valor referente a la amplia gama de programas y beneficios de estudiar en Canadá para que tomes la mejor decisión. Class TV. Queda con ustedes nuestro anfitrión, Bruno Perón.
Perdón, me acabo de dar cuenta que estaba en mute. Perdón, Bruno Perón aquí saludándolos desde Vancouver, Canadá, como es el caso cada jueves para nuestro episodio de Class Education TV. Hoy tenemos el placer de platicar con Carleton University, una de las dos universidades en nuestra capital nacional de Ottawa, una capital que se habló mucho en los últimos días. Entonces vamos a tener el gusto de platicar con la universidad, el representante de América Latina para la universidad. Pero antes de empezar, les quería dar la bienvenida y comentarles que estamos en redes, en Facebook, en YouTube, en LinkedIn, con nuestro gran equipo de clase. Allá estamos para que nos den señales de vida, que nos digan de dónde nos están escuchando, de qué ciudad, qué país, que nos ponen sus preguntas también, porque me encanta tomar las preguntas, la mayor cantidad de preguntas posible durante estos episodios de Class TV. Y con mi invitado el día de hoy contestaremos para el beneficio de todos. Pónganos un like, un compartir, un comentar para que esta información también llegue cada vez a más personas. Si están buscando estudiar en Canadá, hacer una vida en Canadá, quizás estudiar, trabajar y emigrar a Canadá, les puedo decir que están en el lugar adecuado. De eso se trata este canal, de eso se trata este episodio del día de hoy. Entonces vamos a hablar de todos los beneficios y en este caso en particular de la Universidad de Carleton en Ottawa. Para la gente que no saben quién es Class Education, quién es la empresa que está poniendo esos espacios informativos, somos Class Education, una empresa orgullosamente canadiense. Desde ya 27 años estamos dando asesoría a la gente de México y América Latina que desea estudiar en Canadá y hacer un futuro en Canadá. Entonces, es que somos enfocados en educación superior. Somos la empresa número 1 que ofrece información sobre la educación superior en Canadá. Y somos afiliados a varios organismos, como pueden ver allá abajo de la pantalla, como es Arte, la Asociación Mexicana de Turismo Educativo. Somos miembro fundador de la Cámara de Comercio Canadiense en México. También trabajamos de cerca con la Embajada de Canadá en México para recibir entrenamiento adecuado para hacer todas las visas de nuestros alumnos, visas para estudiar, visas para trabajar, también para sus cónyuges y para sus hijos, si es el caso. Entonces, somos expertos en la materia y tenemos muchos años de experiencia que nos respaldan para llevar a cabo este proyecto correctamente. Como empresa ofrecemos muchos servicios, diferentes servicios, pero para mí el más importante es la consultoría educativa, es decir, orientarlos y guiarlos en escoger la mejor institución y el mejor programa para sus necesidades según sus preferencias y lo que quieren estudiar y todo eso. Hacemos todo el proceso de inscripción o registros en las escuelas y el seguimiento de las mismas para asegurarnos que vamos buen camino. Vemos la parte del seguro médico, el alojamiento para cuando llegan a Canadá, los trámites de visados, como decía, para uno que va con pareja, si es el caso, y o con hijos también, para que puedan estudiar, trabajar también en Canadá, si su programa lo permite. Y vemos todos los detalles como recepción en el aeropuerto, traducción de documentos, revalidación de estudios, evaluación de su nivel de inglés, todos esos servicios que son importantes y necesarios, los pueden ver todos con Class Education. ¿Okay? Entonces, estamos aquí a sus órdenes, somos la empresa que les da servicio y seguimiento a su proyecto que les puede literalmente cambiar la vida. Entonces, sabemos lo importante que es eso y es importante hacerlo con gente que se dedica a eso, gente profesional en la materia. ¿Ok? Entonces, eso es Class Education. Les recuerdo que según la plataforma donde se encuentran en este momento, hay un formulario de registro o de contacto, si quieren llamarlo así. Si están interesados en la información que estamos compartiendo hoy o en otra información que quieran saber, por favor, déjenos sus datos. Es muy fácil de llenar, muy, muy rápido de llenarlo y déjenos llegar eso. También abajo de la pantalla, a lo largo del episodio de hoy, aparecerán los datos de Class Education, tanto sitio web, teléfono, WhatsApp y correo. Así que nos pueden contactar por allá también. Pero el formulario de registro es muy bueno y a partir de mañana podremos estar en contacto con ustedes. ¿Ok? Muy bien. Entonces, pues para empezar, antes de presentarle a mi invitado, les voy a presentar los 7 puntos que siento yo que son los más relevantes con respecto a Carleton University. Y el primero es que es una institución pública de educación superior ubicada en nuestra capital nacional, Ottawa. Es una de 2 universidades que hay en la capital nacional. Es una de las 10 mejores universidades en Canadá. Eso no es cualquier cosa. Es una universidad muy reconocida, muy conocida y reconocida no solo en Ottawa ni Ontario, sino en todo el país y en toda América del Norte. 95% de sus egresados consiguen empleo en los primeros 6 meses posterior a su graduación. Eso es impresionante, que el 95% de los egresados consiguen trabajo en su área de trabajo, de estudio, perdón. La universidad ofrece diplomas, licenciaturas y maestrías, ¿okay? Los 3 tipos de programas. Eso es muy interesante también. No muchas universidades ofrecen diplomas también. Punto número 5, la universidad ofrece más de 130 programas en áreas como Engineering and Design, Commerce, Science and Social Science, Public Affairs, obviamente siendo la capital nacional, y 90% de sus programas cuentan con co-op, es decir, prácticas laborales que están metidos adentro del programa donde uno puede trabajar de forma remunerada. Punto número 6, convenio con empleabilidad con empresas muy conocidas como Ericsson, Siena, BlackBerry, Nokia, IBM, KPMG, Deloitte, Touche y varios otras. Nuestra capital nacional es una ciudad muy importante en Canadá, tiene más de 750,000 habitantes. Y punto 7, y no es el menor, el 100% de sus programas son elegibles al Postgraduate Work Permit, el famoso permiso laboral postgraduación hasta por 3 años. Entonces, lo que una concurse en Carleton University está sujeto al Postgraduate Work Permit, lo cual es una excelente noticia para todos los alumnos. ¿Ok? Entonces, esos son los puntos que quiero compartir, que conocer, que son para mí los más importantes, pero para profundizar en eso y hablar de cuáles son esos programas, les vamos a empezar con Carleton University. Entonces, si están listos, agarran sus plumas, de sus papeles o sus iPads y en un segundo más empezamos. Muy bien, listo. Entonces, si ya están listos, voy a invitar a la pantalla nuestro amigo de ya muchos años con quien estamos trabajando con él, el señor Robert Finlinson. Robert, how are you?
I'm great, Bruno. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. It's good to have you back on the program. I was just giving a quick introduction earlier about the 7 most important points, but there's a lot, and it's hard to cut it down to 7 points, but we did it. But we're here today to talk with you to get some more insight about why Carleton, why Ottawa, and some of the most interesting programs that you have, and give information in general about tuition fees, bursaries, requirements. Intakes that you have for the different programs. So let's jump right into it, Robert. We've had a lot of interest from our audience and to go to study in Canada. Most people know the benefits that while you're studying at postgraduate studies in Canada, you can work part-time while you're studying. You can work full-time during summer vacations, and you get access to that famous postgraduate work permit, which is a permit that allows you to work up to 3 years upon graduation. And we've already discussed that Carleton University is 100%, all the programs are 100% eligible to this program, this postgraduate work permit. So a lot of the people on this call already know that, but I'd like to focus a little bit now on Ottawa and Carleton as a university. Why would you say that Carleton and Ottawa would be a good destination for international students, mainly from Mexico and Latin America? Why would this be a good destination to arrive in Canada?
Yeah, that's a great place to start. We often begin the conversation by that piece because it's such an important aspect of the university, at least at Carleton anyways. I guess overall I'd say being based in a G7 capital affords our students unparalleled access to some really interesting infrastructure that's housed here in the city. So students that might be interested in study governance, for example, of course, Canada's seat of government is here. So being able to observe the House of Commons, the big decisions and how they're arrived at through debate, etc. All of that happens right here in the city. All of the apparatus of government as well. So think tanks, nonprofit organizations, government agencies, life and health science research institutes, all of it is just off of our campus. So really direct access, I think, for learning opportunities, for first source research, and then we'll talk more about this after perhaps, but through our co-op program, being able to get professional experience with these organizations. So building your degree while actually creating relevant work experience, learning more about how you might practice your profession post-graduation as well. In addition to that, Ottawa is also quite famous for having a huge IT sector here in the city as well. So sometimes known as a Silicon Valley North because of the big cluster of IT businesses here. So big ones, obviously, like Google and Microsoft, but there's some really interesting homegrown success stories too. Shopify comes to mind. The big e-commerce platform is headquartered here in the city as well. And then I guess the other piece I would highlight is beyond Carleton, of course, there's the University of Ottawa, St. Paul's University, just across the river in Quebec, the University of Quebec, 2 large colleges. So for a city the size of Ottawa, which is just over 1 million people, there's a huge number of students that come here from all over the world to live and study, which I think creates a really young kind of dynamic to the city. It's a student-y focused type of a place in addition to all of those other attributes. And I guess the last thing I'd highlight really is there's a strong French culture here. Many people in Ottawa are bilingual in English and French. And I think people find that French flavor to the city kind of charming as well.
It sure is. It sure is. And it adds something je ne sais quoi to the city, right? But you're right. I think the fact that, sometimes a lot of people think that capital cities can be, a little boring. But Ottawa is truly a vibrant city, young city. It's grown a lot in the last 10 years. It's up over 1 million people now, as you say now. And I don't think a lot of people know that it's such um, uh, a hub now for technology and new business like Shopify, which is a monster, in the online retail, and many others. So I think a lot of people don't know that, and that's one of the strengths at the university, the technology, or the faculty of, what's it called? Is it faculty of engineering, right?
Yeah, engineering and design, computer science, IT, quite a few focused in this area for sure.
Yeah, and we know there's lots of jobs in there as well. So we're going to talk about this a little bit later on, but I think this is a very good point that a lot of people, I think, don't know or are not very clear that Ottawa is such a hub for that. So it's good to highlight. I'm sure a lot of people, I see some of the comments in the chat now, that people asking about master's degree, people asking about what kind of programs you offer. So let's jump into it, Rob. Let's jump into the programs. If you have a visual on the program that we can go through, and maybe show some pictures of the campus as well, because it's such a beautiful campus, right? It's a little city within a city, right? And it's beautiful.
It's a fair point. Yeah. So if you're interested, just while we have this map, you can see Ottawa itself is based right between the major cities of Montreal and Toronto. Montreal is my hometown. It's just over an hour and a half from the city. Toronto, about 4.5 hours. Just north of the U.S. border. Big cities in the U.S. that we're fairly close to would be Boston, Chicago, Washington, D.C. New York would be about a 90-minute flight from Ottawa. So just in terms of being based in the city, all of those interesting things that I talked about in terms of study, but also just for being able to explore this part of North America. So all of that, I think, is quite compelling. But you're right. I think looking at the campus itself is an important thing to consider, because our campus offers both types of experiences. We are a campus-based university. You can see that space highlighted here is Carleton's entire campus. It's actually 52 hectares of green park-like space, but it's based in the central part of the city. So students really have two experiences, you could say. One is the close-knit community that you get from a campus-based university. So Carleton students meet up with their friends when their classes are finished. They work out in the gym, or they get involved in student life. It doesn't become a deserted, quiet office park on the weekends. It continues to be a vibrant place, but you don't get that at the expense of location. So it's not a university in the suburbs of Ottawa where you have to take a bus or a train for 2 hours to get into the city center. You have full access to the city through our O train, which serves our campus as well, included in student fees as well. So you really can take advantage of that aspect to the location too. But yeah, Bruno, as you say, it really is like a mini city within a city. So guaranteed residents, students living on campus, restaurants, cafes, pubs. We have an Olympic-sized swimming pool, indoor and outdoor tennis courts, 2 skating rinks, obviously health services and all of the other support that you would expect to have. So truly like a city within a city, you could say. One last thing, we're bordered by the Rideau Canal, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And in the winter, like now, when it's a little colder, it's the world's largest skating rink. So some of our students actually skate to school on a cold weather day.
Yeah, that's a huge skating rink. Interesting also, you didn't mention it, but I would think that also living in Ottawa, especially in your residence, is a lot more affordable than some other cities in the country as well, right?
Yeah, that's a key point. So I think for a city the size of Ottawa, cost of living does compare really favorably to larger cities like Toronto and Vancouver, for example, or Edmonton. Like rent tends to be less expensive, a little bit more affordable.
That's a big point as well. Okay, very good. So yeah, so it's a city within a city. I love the campus life. You're right. It makes such a difference in your the years you're in university. Being able to live that experience on the campus is a beautiful thing, and not being too far from the city, I think, is a big major attributes to Carleton.
One thing you can't see in this photo is when it is colder, we do have underground tunnels that connect every building on campus as well. So different student communities like to paint murals down there. It's a really kind of fun. A lot of people that do a campus tour find that part really, really interesting. Of course, winter's only one part of the year. We have really hot summers, beautiful autumns with crisp colors and beautiful trees. And a big tulip festival in the spring as well. But when it is colder, there's fun things to do. Like, for example, about 20 minutes from our campus, there's some great downhill skiing and snowboarding, for example. So things that maybe Mexican students might be interested in trying if they came to Ottawa.
Definitely. Very good. So let's take a look at the. You have other pictures of the campus, or okay? Let's look at the size of this university and how many countries you have there.
For sure, yeah. So Carleton's considered a mid-sized university within the Canadian context. So about 31,000 students that study undergraduate, master's, and PhD programs. And of course, about almost 5,000 students at this stage from over 150 different countries.
Oh.
We're really proud of this fact, actually, Bruno, because we have a lot of international students from many parts of the world. So it's not a university with a lot of international students that come from one or two locations. It truly is a really diverse context. And I think our students really enjoy that aspect of Carleton because they're able to connect with people with different perspectives, learn from each other, progress through their degree, and then whether stay back in Canada, return home, or go to another country for, postgraduate study or whatever, you're part of this international community of scholars and alumni. And I think that's one of the things that sets Carleton apart for sure. Yeah. In terms of programs, that's a key piece, obviously. Carleton's really strong in a lot of different areas. We can look at all of them. But one point I'd like to start with is it's not a rigid system where you would say be a commerce student and you're simply going to be compelled to take only business classes. At Carleton, you really can combine programs in interesting ways. And I think people really enjoy the ability to kind of create maybe something focused for professional goals post-graduation. So whether you want to be an engineer or maybe work in international finance, you have this really clear context of what you'd like to do. But the university, I think, really is about exploring and having access to different subjects, maybe. So doing combined programs, majors and minors, and mixing it up is very possible in the Carleton context as well. So overall, we offer 22 different undergraduate degrees, and each of the bullet points you see here is a degree that you can earn at Carleton. And of course, many different majors contained with each of these areas. So literally hundreds of combinations when you look at doing majors and minors across different degree programs.
This is very good for us to see the different programs, the different areas. And if anyone here on the call is interested in a specific program, then you can, ask us, fill in the information on the contact form on your social network and give us information. Tell us if you're interested in journalism and social work and science and humanities and engineering, and then we can take it from there. But this is a very good snapshot as to all the undergrad degrees, which was or bachelor's degrees, which are licenciaturas in Spanish, right?
Perfect. To break it down a little bit, I think people might be looking for a bit more context. I can't speak about all the programs today. That would take up all of our time. Yeah. Broadly speaking, though, they're grouped over 5 faculties. So one would be Arts and Social Sciences, of course, the Bachelor of Arts, Cognitive Science. For those that are thinking about psychology, it's an entire degree dedicated to how the human mind works and what motivates behavior. Given our location in Ottawa, I think global and international studies is particularly strong. A lot of Canada's foreign service workers and diplomats are former Carleton students. And of course, we have the oldest journalism program in the country, so quite a prestigious degree. One example, of course, within the BA, you can see there's quite a lot of diversity, criminology, law, economics, sociology, etc. So just to give you a flavor of some of the things we offer across that area. So public affairs, of course, would be another one. Given the location in Ottawa, being able to create policy responses to complex issues like climate change or, international crime, for example. So creating a formalized response in a policy context for those that want to work in either government or international governance like the UN or for a nonprofit. Carleton's quite known for programs in that particular area as well. Full business school, of course. We have 2 different undergraduate business degrees. A Bachelor of Commerce has 8 different majors. So entrepreneurial studies, accounting, finance, supply chain management, human resources. You could do more than one of those. But for those that might be looking at doing international business and maybe acquiring a 3rd language beyond Spanish and English, we offer the opportunity to do business with a full immersion with another language like German, Japanese, Portuguese, just as a few examples. Where you would spend 3rd year overseas at one of our partner institutions in a country where that language is spoken. So really to give you that international flavor to your degree as well.
So that's part of the fees that you could spend 1 year in another country, in another university altogether.
That's correct. Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. I think one aspect I would highlight, there might be students listening today that are thinking of medicine. Those professional programs in Canada, like in the US, are postgraduate credentials, so medicine, law, teaching pharmacy, for example. Carleton has really strong programs in that area. For those that want to go on to do that, I would say health sciences is particularly good at Carleton. So human health, neuroscience, genetics, biology, all very, very strong. And of course, computer science. We talked briefly about the big IT community based here in the city as well. Very strong linkages, of course, between the Bachelor of Computer Science and those companies. So through our co-op program, through having our students graduate and go to work for those organizations, and through research collaborations, I would highlight that as being particularly strong for Carleton as well. And I think one big one is, of course, engineering. Carleton is the second biggest engineering school in Ontario. So we have a huge engineering program, 13 different undergraduate engineering majors. So you'll find traditional programs like civil, electrical, and mechanical, sort of those core programs. But Carleton's established a really strong reputation in aerospace sector. So one of the first universities with an aerospace program, which we offer straight from bachelor's through to PhD level, biomedical engineering, even environmental, sustainable, and renewable energy engineering as well. So very, very strong in that particular field. But I'd also highlight, because I know we get a lot of interest and some really strong applicants from Mexico for our architectural studies program, which of course it's a 4-year Bachelor of Architecture that's really studio and design focused. So in that program, you'll actually build things. You'll conceptualize your creative ideas and bring them to life. And of course, that leads to the 2-year master's program, which we also offer, as well as a PhD. So yeah, quite interesting options, I'd say.
Oh, definitely. And I think, as you said earlier, lots of work opportunities in those programs, and also lots of interest, especially for Mexican students in engineering and design.
Yeah, we've had some wonderful students attend Carleton over the years in that particular area. Industrial design is sort of the sister program to architecture. Those that are looking at functional design. So if you like the idea of creating furniture or a bicycle, like just different objects. Some of our graduates have their pieces in the Museum of Modern Art in New York City for their sort of bold designs. So if you like design, Carleton might be a great choice.
No.
And I guess, yeah, one thing I'd highlight really when you look at all of our programs, Carleton offers really interesting work study opportunities. So approximately 90% of our degrees come with the opportunity to add co-op work experience to your degree program. So basically you would study for 2 years and get a baseline of knowledge, if you will, in your particular discipline. And once you have that under your belt, you're ready to go forth and work for an organization that's directly related to that particular field. And during that time, you're not studying. Actually, you're full-time, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, working for this organization. You're given real projects that sort of augment what you've learned in the classroom so far, and you're kind of given the opportunity to solve problems. And you take what you learned at Carleton into that professional context, and then you take what you learned there back into the classroom when you're back on campus. And so you're kind of learning through that dual pathway. But you're also building a resume, you're building a CV of recent relevant work experience, a LinkedIn profile with recent contacts that you can leverage for job hunting post-graduation. And of course, they're paid positions. So you would earn a salary, I would say, that's comparable to an entry-level work salary post-graduation. So for those that are savvy with money, this can be a great way to help pay for your fees as well.
These internships are organized and they're organized by the university with the employers?
Correct. Yeah. So Carleton's co-op office is responsible for facilitating all of the opportunities. And so when it's your turn to do co-op, sort of in the semester leading into that, all of the options will be presented, and then you and the other students would apply for your top choice jobs. And I think from that perspective, it's kind of a learning opportunity as well. So building your resume, going through a formal interview process, learning how to be better at that. So when you finish your degree, of course, that's something you'll be doing when you're looking for your first job. And so you kind of compete, but all of the opportunities are presented and organized by the university. But I'll note that if you do have perhaps a family connection with a major organization, or if you have a family business or a co-op that you'd like to do that the university currently doesn't offer, our co-op office can actually work with students on some of those as well. So I know we had a Nigerian student whose family connection with Shell Petroleum back home, and they were able to create a co-op opportunity for her in that organization. The key piece is that the work itself has to complement what's happening in the classroom. So there's a certain set of criteria, but there's different ways that this can be put together for sure.
That's a great opportunity for students to get work experience, to get, and this is good salaries. We're looking at on average. Do you have an idea of what these salaries could look like, Rob?
Yeah, for sure. So I would say like engineering and computer science co-op tend to pay a little more maybe than a social science one. But yeah, you're looking at, you could make $25 to $30 an hour over the, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 over the 4 months. So typically a co-op term would be 4 months in duration. But we have had some that are sometimes 2 terms or even 3 terms long. But the good thing about that is, again, it's the student's discretion in terms of which ones they want to apply for. So you might say like, oh, I'm doing the video game development stream in computer science, and Ottawa offers some work in that area, but there's, some great jobs in Vancouver, for example. So maybe your co-op is actually in another city. And so then you kind of weigh like, okay, I'd have to move to this other location for 4 months. And that's a bit of a pain, but at the same time, this is a great organization. It's one that I'd actually probably like to work at when I finish this degree. So getting experience there is really valuable. You get to make that choice for yourself. If you decide that moving isn't really something you want to do, you can look for, closer to home options as well.
So very flexible and lots of good opportunities, either in Ottawa or the region, or even in another city, another province, in another country as well. Very flexible.
Correct. Yeah.
Very good. Okay. Super. Is there any other faculties, or is this is the last faculty, right?
That's the last faculty. Yeah. So 5 faculties in total, 22 different degrees, and many different majors across those areas.
Well, a very, very wide range of programs, of faculties, and all kinds of flexibility in terms of choosing your major, which is your area of concentration, of focus, what you want to give to your program. Very, very interesting. I don't think a lot of universities have that much flexibility in how you can build your program to make it fit your the kind of work you want to do when upon your graduation. That's a big one. I see questions also in the chat about masters. Did we cover masters already, or?
We didn't. So we do offer, primarily Carleton has the 2-year thesis-based research master's degrees over the 1-year taught courses. So admission to those programs, most of the subjects you see here are offered at the master's level, many at the PhD level as well. For master's programs, I would highlight looking for research affinities. So if there's a particular field that you think Carleton might be good at, and it's related to what you might like to do research-wise, have a look at some of the faculty research that Carleton has in that particular area. If it looks appealing and it seems like a school that might be able to support your research, then I suggest reaching out to faculty members directly to help support with the application. That can make a big difference in terms of the admissions piece.
And now let's talk about costs. We know that normally in Canada, universities are more expensive than college, and we have lots of college on this program. So people have seen a lot of college. But let's talk about pricing. Let's talk about in comparison also with work opportunities and with having 95% of graduates that find work upon graduation. I think this is a big one, but people need to know about pricing. So let's look at that for a second.
Yeah, sorry, I just flew through some slides there. I don't want to give anybody whiplash with that, but yes, I agree. The cost is a really important consideration. So our tuition fees would be from September to December for term 1, January to April for term 2. So those 2 terms would typically encapsulate 1 year of full-time study. Carleton does have a summer term for those that are keen to kind of just plow through. But many people, like as you said at the beginning, you can work full-time in the summer perhaps, or use your summer for co-op terms as well. Then factoring in living expenses, so approximately 11,000 Canadian dollars to live on campus, which would be room and board. Carleton offers private rooms as well as shared rooms and great food. Actually, I would highlight, if any of you are able to visit our campus, we'd be super happy to host you, show you around. We can have lunch in the student dining facility, which we've won awards for having great food at the university as well.
I think these prices, what makes the difference between, they say 29, it says 29 to 42. Are most of them around 29, or only some of them are at 42, or?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you'll see, there is a range. And I would say, generally speaking, any of the degrees that have labs associated with them, such as engineering, tend to be more expensive. So lab fees add up the cost a little bit. So science and engineering programs on the more expensive side, social science programs and business sort of the less expensive side.
Now, these costs are, I know people will ask, are they for per year, or are they for the entire program? They're per year.
This would be per year, correct?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And you can pay this in 2 installments, because there's 2 semesters in those costs, right?
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
The good news is that Carleton is fairly generous with scholarships and bursaries. So over the last year, for example, the university awarded over $28 million in funding to students. We really do want to support our students as they begin their studies. We know that it can be a bit of a burden for families. So we have different scholarships that are available. One would be the entrance scholarship. It's a good one to start with, because this is available to all applicants to Carleton, provided they're coming into the university from a high school. So secondary school into a bachelor's degree, you would be assessed for admission to the university, and that GPA is also used to determine if you qualify for an entrance award. So very roughly, you could see, approximately 80% up to 95% would be $4,000, $8,000, $12,000, or $16,000, but allocated over the 4 years. So the top scholarship is actually $4,000 each year for 4 years. You can see an IB points, starting at the 28, for example. I don't know if there are many A levels, but just to give you a general scale of how that works. One thing that we're offering that is new, I think, is Carleton has an enhanced entrance scholarship for people coming into the university this coming September. It's called the International Award of Excellence, and it's an additional $5,000 on top of the entrance scholarship. So if you're going to receive a $16,000 award from Carleton, you would also receive an additional $5,000 on top of that towards first year. So that would lower your first year costs. For those that don't qualify, so some students that might be below the 80%, they still qualify for funding. We offer the International Award of Merit, which is valued at $3,500 towards first year. So all students basically are supported in some sense. For those that are also thinking about competing for competitive awards, Carleton also has competitive scholarships too. The Prestige program, you do have to apply separately for these. It's one application that would make you eligible for every single scholarship that we have. And these are valued at a higher amount than the top entrance award is 16. These tend to be greater than that per year across the degree as well. Winners of these scholarships tend to have a background that includes extracurricular activities. So I'd say you guys should think about all the stuff you've done over the years. Maybe you're in sports, maybe you play music, maybe you tutor somebody after school, maybe you're the head boy or the head girl at your school. Just think of all the great things you've done, fill out the application, and automatically you would be considered for these scholarships. So those are all really good. I guess I would highlight the one other thing that we do that I think is quite unique is Carleton also gives away money based on financial need. So it's not available in first year, but as a Carleton student entering second year, third year, and fourth year, you can apply for a bursary. And that's just a gift of money based on your family finances. So I would say when you factor in entrance awards, the chance to compete for prestige awards, the ability to get a bursary to lower costs, and then weigh that against the fact that you can work and study simultaneously. Of course, here in Ontario, we have the second highest minimum wage in Canada, over $14 an hour, and then the co-op positions as well. So think about all of these different funding channels, if you will, and then that certainly, I think, makes a difference for a lot of students.
Absolutely. These scholarships are news. First time I hear about this new one, the $5,000 one, and $3,500. This is great news for new students. So that's always a good help. And these scholarships, how do they apply for them? Or once they get accepted, then is when they apply for them? Or how does it work?
Yeah, so the entrance scholarship is awarded at the time of admission. So once you get your offer package from Carleton, all of that scholarship information is automatically included. You don't really have to do anything. Okay. Only if you want to apply for the Prestige Awards. So that does require a separate application. The application is directly off our website. It's carleton.ca/awards. And the deadline's March 1st, actually. So we have time. It's still a couple of days before that's due. But for those that are thinking of applying for this coming fall, you might want to look at that application, maybe work on that over the weekend and get it back to the university by the 1st. So still some time.
Tight, but it's still some time. Okay. I have a question here from there's lots of questions, but there's one from Diego Mauricio Solano. He's saying, if I were to have a degree, I imagine it's from Mexico, I'm not sure. He says, can I reduce the number of credits I would have to do? Would you be able to revalidate some of the credits that someone has done in another country?
Yeah, I love that question. Yes, definitely. So Carleton does its best to recognize prior learning. We work with a number of colleges across Canada. So people that maybe come to Canada and do a college program can come into the university often in second or third year based on completed coursework in their college programs. But we also receive a number of applicants from universities around the world as well. So ostensibly, we would ask the student to share with us course descriptions for the completed courses, and then we work with our faculty to assess how those courses might translate into a Carleton degree credit. Sometimes they fit perfectly, and we could say your psychology 1001 equals our psychology 1001, so direct match. But other times we say, okay, we see that you took a psychology second year credit. We don't offer that, but we're going to give you a second year credit that recognizes that you did that. So even though it's not a direct match, it still helps you with your degree. So yeah, by all means apply and make sure that we have the course descriptions and we'll get those assessed for you.
Okay, perfect. Great question, Diego. Thank you very much. And even better response. He says, Diego again saying, I'd like, me gusta saber cuánto cuesta el proceso completo para migración vía estudios con ustedes. Okay, so I'd like to know for the price for migrations or immigration services at Class Education. Diego, depende si vas solo o si vas con tu pareja o con familia, quizás sea el caso. En Class Education tenemos nuestro propio servicio de visado y incluye la visa. El costo de la visa está incluido en los servicios, cuesta $7,995 para los clientes de Class. Si no eres un alumno de Class o si ya estás inscrito y no eres alumno de nosotros, tenemos otro costo. No me acuerdo, creo que son $9,000 si no eres un alumno de Class, pero si eres alumno de Class son $7,995, incluyendo la visa. Y si vas con tu pareja o con familias, tenemos otras tarifas, porque eso lo tenemos que hacer con un consultor en inmigración, porque ya se deja de ser un proceso administrativo y se vuelve un proceso ya mucho más intenso, donde tenemos que juntar los diferentes aplicantes bajo un solo, que es el del estudiante, y eso lo hacemos con consultores de inmigración que están aquí en Canadá y que te pueden atender en español también y te pueden atender, y esos costos pueden variar, pero te podemos llegar una cotización si eso te interesa, ¿ok? Pero si lo haces con nosotros, si estás solo, que es quizás sea el caso, el caso contigo, es un costo de $7,995, incluyendo la visa de estudio y trabajo, ¿ok? Muy bien. Okay, all right, so let's continue, Rob. We talked about cost, we talked about bursary programs. Let's talk about requirements. And then after that, I'd like you to tell us as well, in your views, what are some of the advantages of going to a university instead of attending a college, to do a bachelor's or to do a diploma? What would be some of the advantages? But let's talk about requirements first of all.
Yeah, that's another great question. So admissions, yeah. So for Carleton and Canadian universities in general, I think primarily we're looking at academic performance as the key assessment for success at the university. So it's a little different than maybe some of the US schools you might be looking at as well, where SATs and sometimes personal statements and maybe even interviews are required. Generally speaking, we're going to look at your documentation from your secondary school for undergraduate programs. If you are applying to master's programs, then of course your undergraduate
Oh, we lost you.
Graduate studies plus academic. So if it's an IB, yeah, sorry.
No, you're back. You're back, but we lost you. I lost you for a little while anyway.
Oh, okay, I'm back. Yeah, so we would ask for the high school transcript, whether it's 3 years or 4 years of secondary school, predicted IB grades. We would look for certain courses for admission to certain degree programs. So, for example, the engineering programs, we do offer 13 different engineering programs, but they all have the same requirements. So math, physics, and chemistry would be the important prerequisite subjects for admission, and then good grades overall. We do make conditional offers throughout the year prior to when you begin your studies. Of course, a conditional offer is issued to a student that is currently studying but hasn't graduated yet. So the condition, of course, is that you continue to do well academically and you send your final grades once they're available. But you can get admitted to the university as early as December based on your previously completed or predicted results as well. We give advanced standing or transfer credit. We talked about coming in from a university or a college. For those that might be doing the IB program, we do recognize the higher level courses and award transfer credit for those. If you're doing the College Board Advanced Placement courses, those are also eligible for transfer credit, as well as A-levels, perhaps, if anyone's doing those as well. You don't need to worry about the SATs. If you have them, you're certainly welcome to send them. We might be able to look at them in some cases, but it's not a required document. And then I guess the second piece is ESL proficiency. So if English is not your first language and you're planning to study in an English institution like Carleton, you can demonstrate proficiency through two different ways. One would be having studied in an English medium school for at least 3 years. So if you're at an English language high school, an IB school, perhaps an American high school, often that's going to be sufficient to show that you would do well at the university. But otherwise, we would look at different tests. We accept quite a few tests: TOEFL, IELTS, Pearson, Duolingo, Cambridge, Pearson. Different options there. We have different ways forward. So for a student with an IELTS score of 6.5, for example, they would be able to come directly into the degree program without any further ESL requirements. But for those that have a good score, but maybe not quite at the direct entry level, between a 5 and a 6.5, then you would actually still be able to start your degree. You would just be in the foundation program alongside degree credit. So you would take, depending upon your score, a ESL course and degree courses at the same time. And as you progress through this program, you may be at the highest level where you just take one ESL course and you're finished, or you start at the beginning. But no matter which level, you can still take degree credit simultaneously. So I think that's quite helpful for students. That's a
big advantage. Now we know that. Well, I know, and I want to share this with the people on this call, that when you're studying English in Canada, you cannot work at the same time. But if you're in that program, now, could you be studying English and taking some credit courses and still be eligible to work then?
Yes, yep, absolutely. So the ESL piece is folded into your degree program. So it's not considered like a separate ESL program that sits next to the degree. It's embedded within it.
Okay, that's a great advantage. That's a great way to improve your English while taking some other courses, maybe entry-level courses in the bachelor's, and still be eligible to work legally in Canada. Speaking of this, I want to share with everyone on the call, let's talk about the advantages of study of the Canadian visa, because that's a big one. And that stems from Ottawa, because that's where the federal government is sitting, and that's where it comes from. So I'm going to do this in Spanish, Rob, if you allow me. Algunos de los beneficios, y Canadá se ha vuelto un powerhouse en educación internacional. Yo creo que mucho por lo bonito que es y lo seguro y buenas oportunidades de trabajo y todo eso, pero también por los beneficios que ofreció el gobierno federal a todos los alumnos internacionales. Y ahí están en la pantalla. Desde que uno empieza a estudiar en Canadá al nivel ya certificado o una licenciatura o una maestría o posgrado, uno puede tener acceso a trabajar medio tiempo mientras está estudiando tiempo completo. En épocas de vacación puede trabajar tiempo completo sin límites de horarios. Al graduarte, automáticamente eres elegible para un Postgraduate Work Permit, que es el famoso permiso laboral postgraduación que ofrece el gobierno canadiense hasta por 3 años. A todos los graduados es automáticamente, son elegibles al 100%. Y durante todo el programa, cuando estás estudiando y después cuando ya estás trabajando, si vas con tu pareja desde el día 1 puede trabajar tiempo completo sin ningún limitante, recibe un permiso de trabajo abierto y pueden trabajar en lo que sea, ¿no? Estando aquí en Canadá. Si tienen hijos chicos entre 5 y 18 años, esos hijos pueden pueden estudiar gratuitamente en Canadá. Eso es otra ventaja muy, muy interesante. Y como si no fuera suficiente, al graduarte de tu programa y ya empiezas a trabajar, al año que ya empezaste a trabajar, reúnes la mayoría de los requisitos para aplicar por la residencia canadiense. Entonces, eso es lo que ha hecho Canadá, entre otras cosas, un atractivo, el país más atractivo. Hoy día, en los últimos 2 o 3 años, el país número 1 como destino para estudiar en el extranjero y también con muy buenas posibilidades de emigrar a Canadá y todas las posibilidades de trabajar durante tus estudios y después, pero también para emigrar a Canadá, porque al año que empiezas a trabajar después de tu graduación, es cuando ya puedes aplicar por esa famosa residencia. Y si van con familia, pues la residencia aplica a toda la familia, no solo al que estudió o la persona que estudió. ¿Okay? Entonces, son muchos los beneficios. Y les quiero comentar otra cosa que comentó nuestro ex ministro de Migración, el señor Mirichino. Digo ex porque ya es ministro de Seguridad Nacional, creo, pero cuando era ministro de Migración, dijo en varias ocasiones, en 2020 y 2021, el rol de los alumnos internacionales en Canadá y la importancia de esos alumnos internacionales en Canadá. A ver si lo podemos poner en la pantalla. Ahí está. Él es el honorable señor Mirichino, ministro de Educación, de Migración en 2019-2021, y dijo así en esas palabras: nuestro mensaje a los estudiantes y graduados internacionales es sencillo. No solo queremos que estudien aquí, queremos que se queden aquí. Y como lo ven, el sistema educativo canadiense está hecho para, uno, prepararlos, darles una excelente educación, prepararlos para el mercado laboral. Inclusive Rob ya nos comentó de varias co-op oportunidades, prácticas laborales pagadas, donde pueden trabajar en empresas relacionadas a lo que están estudiando. Eso está organizado por parte de la universidad, todo para darles éxito al graduarse. Decía Rob también que 90% de los graduados terminan trabajando en las empresas donde estaban haciendo su co-op, ¿no? Entonces, eso es muy, muy interesante y pues Canadá quiere que la gente al salir tengan trabajo, sean parte del engranaje económico del país y ayudan a las empresas canadienses a mantenerse como líderes mundial en cada una de sus industrias. Y Canadá, hay que decirlo, necesita gente preparado y listo para trabajar dentro de las normas y las reglas y lo que pide Canadá como industria. Entonces, las universidades como Carleton University son líderes en eso, en preparar a los graduados para que se integran al sector laboral y sean una parte activa de nuestra economía. Entonces, eso para mí es el atractivo número 1 de Canadá. Para ustedes quizás sea la nieve, quizás sea el hockey, la miel de maple o lo lindo que son los canadienses, pero para mí esa es la sinergia, para mí es el secreto mejor guardado, ¿no? Esta definición entre el gobierno, los beneficios que da el gobierno, el sector educativo, el sector privado, cómo trabajan juntos para preparar los graduados para el sector laboral, para que aporten algo concreto a las empresas al graduarse. ¿Ok? Eso es muy, muy importante. Sigo con Rob, pero les pido, aprovecho ahorita. Ahora es buen momento para hacernos llegar sus preguntas. He visto varias, he tomado varias inclusive, pero es buen momento ahorita para hacernos llegar más preguntas mientras estoy con Rob para ir tomándolas, ¿ok? Okay, Rob, I did a little parenthesis on a lot of things that are important, I think, to the audience in terms, the benefits of the Canadian visa, which you know of, and the how dynamic the Canadian economy is, and how much in need we are of young talent and young and not so young as well, but a lot of we need a lot of people in Canada, but Canada has chosen the education as the path to work opportunities, and immigration opportunities. And that's really interesting, and that's bringing a lot of really good talent to Canada. And that's why Canada is now the number one country, or the number one destination for international students worldwide in the last 2-3 years now, because of all these benefits. And we've seen it through COVID as well. The way Canada, I think, managed itself through COVID was a lot of, at least in Mexico, where I'm more involved, was admired, and I think we didn't suffer too much during that pandemic, and neither did our students. So anyway, I wanted to open that parenthesis, and maybe get some of your thoughts on that as well, Rob, if you allow.
Yeah, I think what you just said is really interesting. I think not everybody realizes, I think, how important immigration is to Canada going forward. Canada is a huge country. Some of you perhaps have visited. If not, do come for education or just to see. Really, really, really big country. Flying from the East Coast, for example, in Newfoundland, across the country to Vancouver Island is kind of like flying from Dubai to London, UK. I mean, physically, it's massive. But there's only 37 million Canadians. So population, like Mexico City has, I don't know what the population is. It's half of our population almost, though, I would say. Anyway, it's kind of funny. So 37 million Canadians. So I think immigration is a major piece of Canada's economic growth forecast. So as you say, people coming to Canada to contribute, as students, and then staying and opening businesses. It's really, really an interesting time here. I would say lots of opportunity, really strong economic growth. And I think we're all watching for the post-pandemic economic recovery. So what's that going to look like in terms of new businesses and new opportunities for everybody? I think Canada did fairly well, comparatively speaking, with COVID-19. It's going to be really interesting to see what things look like as that sort of falls away. I know from the university's perspective, we've been really happy to welcome students back to the campus back in January. So we've had people studying in person again. Some still online, of course. Larger classes where that makes sense are still virtual, so that hybrid model. But we're at this stage looking at September as being more or less a back to normal semester. So barring things going sideways, we're looking forward to having a back to normal experience. And for all of you that might be looking to come for September, I think you'll see a really similar experience. So sort of that collegial campus type vibe, getting involved in clubs and societies, meeting up with your friends, being together again. It's going to be really wonderful.
Just like before.
Just like before.
And speaking of which, here's a question from Miguel Banda. I really want to do this. Do you consider this year a good year to travel to Canada? I think any year is a good year to travel to Canada, Miguel. But I would say, yes, definitely. I want to say we're over that pandemic. We are. It certainly feels like this in Canada. We are removing all kinds of pandemic restrictions, some in February, some in mid-March. It certainly is happening in Ontario. I think by March 1st or March 15th, they're removing a lot of restrictions. Classes are currently in person, and they will be for September. I think the worst is behind us, Miguel. I think it's a very good time to go to Canada. The only thing I would say, I don't know about you, Rob, but I would say act quickly, reserve your spot, because I think Canadian institution this year, more than in any other year, will be victim to their success, because I think a lot of programs will fill up quickly. We're expecting just from Mexico over double the number of students that we had in 2021 this year. So over 30,000 students from Mexico this year. Last year, I believe, was 12,000, or 2020 was, I believe, 12,000. 2019 was 18,000. And we don't have the exact numbers yet for 2021, but it was probably in the 15 to 17,000. So this year, we're expecting over 30,000. So, Canadian institutions are large and big and great, but they also have their limiting capacity. And I think a lot of programs will fill up. Do you think that's true as well, Rob?
I do, yeah. And I think it's nice to know that you can apply. So students can defer an offer. So we expect things to go forward as normal, and that's what we're actively planning for. You can apply, you can get admitted, And then if you decide you want to defer to the next term that program starts, if things aren't completely back to normal, that's something you can do as well. So from that perspective, there's no risk really. As Bruno said, programs do hit capacity prior to the application deadline. So applying early certainly gives you an advantage in that sense. So you have more options down the road when you can sort of weigh what makes the most sense based on that time.
Yeah, definitely. But we already seen some programs, some of the schools telling us, oh, this program is almost at capacity, or this program now has a wait list. So it's starting to happen, and we're only in February. So yes, I think working 6 months ahead of time is a good idea. Okay, Fabian Sevilla is saying, I'm a lawyer, 45-year-old, advanced English level. What would you recommend for someone like me?
Yeah, so it depends what you're looking to do, I guess. If it's a certain time in your life where you're looking to retrain or to obtain, a new credential that might help your career pivot to a different area, I would look at postgraduate programs and see how you can build on, your previous academic accomplishments plus all of your professional accomplishments as well. And so, what would be great to add to that to add value to what you have, and then how you could maybe leverage that for employment opportunities. So, yeah, I would look at what you've done so far, look at some of the postgraduate opportunities, consider your linguistic skills as well and how that could be helpful. And then, make a choice based on all of those variables.
The question is a little wide open, but if you want, like Rob said, if you want to do retraining if you want to stay in law, that's fine. Or if you want to do something different, that's also interesting. What you could do also is, if you are married, if you have children, you could go to school. Remember, your wife or your partner could work while you're in school, and your kids could be in school for free while you're doing that. Or your partner could be in school and you could be working either with Mexico or in Canada, and your kids again could be in school for free. So I think it's a great experience as a family, and Canada has made it easy for families to do that, because you can work part-time as a student and your partner can work full-time, and the kids go to school for free. So the entire family economics is a lot more doable now. It's a lot more feasible to do that, economically speaking. And a lot of people have done that. A lot of people are taking a sabbatical year, coming to study in Canada for 1 year to give their family the opportunity to live that experience, improve dramatically in their English, open their eyes to the rest of the world, and fall in love as well, and then maybe end up staying here, because a lot of them want to do that. So anyway, okay, another question from David de la Cruz Parra Fonseca. Quiero saber los costos y carrera. Okay, so David probably came in a little bit late. He wants to know the programs and the cost. The different areas of studies and the cost. David, I would say earlier in the recording, we've covered that. This will be on our YouTube channel, so you can review it. You can stop it and take a picture of all the programs, because there's 130 programs. Costs vary from, if I'm not mistaken, Rob, between $29,000 to $42,000 per year. That's payable per semester. So these are the costs. And now, specific program, typically the programs with labs in the programs, like engineering, biology, all these type of programs would be a little bit high on the higher end, and the business program and the arts program will be on the lower end. So that gives you a good indication. But there's 130 programs, David. So go back to the recording, because we don't have much time to go through this again. But go back and you'll find it about 10 minutes into the program. Okay. Muy bien. Ale Serge, what do I need to go to study in Canada?
Depends what program, I would say, and what your background and what you want to study is. So if you're looking for an undergraduate degree, generally speaking, good grades academically with the right prerequisite courses for the subject you're interested in. So math, physics, and chem for engineering, for example, math for business. If you are looking at postgraduate options, then I would say really strong academics from your bachelor's degree. So good grades, generally speaking, at least a 3.0 on a 4.0 scale, plus academic references, as well as research. compatibility. So what your research interests might be and how that might correlate to the research that Carleton offers. In terms of the work opportunity piece, I think that's no matter what you're studying, you have access to that. So coming to Canada as an international student gives you the opportunity to work part-time while you're a student and full-time during the summer break. And then of course, post-graduation to apply for that stay back work study opportunity, the postgraduate work permit as well.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. Very good. We have another question from Dave. Any program for medical area?
We do. So our undergraduate programs would be, I would say the Bachelor of Health Sciences would be particularly good for people that want to go on to study professional medicine. So if you want to become a doctor, for example, or a pharmacist, those are postgraduate credentials in Canada. So I would say a bachelor, you don't have to do a health sciences degree to go forth to do that. But generally speaking, the biological component of that degree is very helpful. Yeah, I don't know if that addresses the question.
Yeah, I would say also that in the medical field, Dave, as you know, there's a lot. You can be a doctor, but there's a lot of other people that work in hospitals and are not doctors, right? So there's a lot of area in the health sciences where you can be. I don't know. You might be a doctor in Mexico, or I'm not sure where you're from, but there's certainly with a health science, you can do a lot of things in Canada. You can continue after that at a master's degree to become a doctor, but you can certainly stay at that level and work in the field. And I'm sure I know there are lots of work opportunities in Canada in the health sciences, especially nowadays, with COVID and even post-COVID, we really realized that we were short-staffed and things will change, and a lot of jobs are being created now in the entire health industry. So there's lots that you can do with something like that. So I would say this is definitely worth investigating more. There's lots of educational opportunities in Canada for that field and lots of job placements as well. So certainly something to look into, David. Okay. There's another good question. Okay, we've already seen that question from Diego. We've taken it before. There's another question. What does it mean to have a major or a minor? A lot of people don't understand that in Mexico. That's a good question. Can you elaborate some more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So a major, basically when you're in a degree program, like we'll take the Bachelor of Arts, for example, the major is the subject within that particular discipline that you're focusing on. So for example, within the Bachelor of Arts, if you were going to major in global politics or psychology or law, the bulk of your subjects across the 4 years of the degree would be dedicated to that subject. However, across the degree, you also have open spaces or elective courses that are yours to fill with whatever courses you want. That's how you can take a variety of different subjects. Like if you want to just, I'm going to try a philosophy course and an art history course and a psychology course just for the learning of that particular subject, you can do that. Or some people like to create a very specific degree that allows them to do a minor. So for example, I'm going to do a major in economics and a minor in law. So to get a minor, you have to meet certain requirements to have that on your degree. Generally speaking, it's 2 full credits a year across the 4 years of the degree, which would give you that particular element to your degree as well. And you can do combined programs too, which is sort of like doing a double major perhaps, where you might say, I'm going to do these 2 things together. When you build a degree like that, most of your elective courses are going to be satisfied by the requirements for the second degree. So there's not a lot of flexibility, but you're getting 2 degrees at the same time, basically. So there's benefits for that too.
Yeah, and there's lots of advantage to that as well. For example, I studied a Bachelor of Commerce, like the one you're offering at Carleton, and my major was in finance, and my minor was in marketing. So 2 very different fields, but I wanted to have a bit of both. I wanted to know what I'm talking about in terms of finance, and I wanted to have some marketing. And also my employment while I was in school was marketing related as well. So that was my approach. That was my thinking behind my major and my minor. Thanks for the question, Juan. Manuel, what do I need to do program of civil engineering?
Yeah, that's great. We have a great civil program. So basically, it's going to be your academics primarily. We'll look at your grades. So good grades is, I guess, the short answer. A bit more nuanced, though. We'll look for key subjects, including math, physics, and chemistry, because the university will start teaching with an assumption that you have a baseline of knowledge in those areas. So certainly the math will begin with that understanding. So math, physics, and chemistry plus good grades primarily, but no external tests, SATs, or anything else.
Another advantage, yeah. Okay. Dave, that we just took his question, answered the question I was asking him, and he says, I'm a physician and my wife is a nutrologist, and we are interested in moving to Canada. Well, let me tell you, Dave, that in health sciences, there's lots of work, and as a nutrologist, your wife would be busy here as well. So I think these are good careers, and today's in today's world, and they're both good careers. And Carleton, in this case, has a great program in health science, so might be worth looking into it. You have. Quiero recordar a todos que Dave está en YouTube, hay gente en Facebook, hay gente en LinkedIn. En cada plataforma de red social hay un formato de contacto donde pueden llenarlo con sus datos y hacérnoslo llegar. Y con eso nos podemos estar en contacto con ustedes. Si no, también pueden tomar los datos que aparecen abajo de la pantalla, el correo de clase, el WhatsApp, el sitio web y el teléfono están ahí. Entonces nos pueden contactar por ahí para recibir más información, y encantado de hacer inclusive una llamada con Rob según su disponibilidad. I was just saying, Rob, that if anyone would be interested in having a call with us, a Zoom, and we could even include you if there's some questions that we cannot answer, which I would be surprised, but because we are trained by you. But if there's anything you want to discuss with Rob, we can certainly, based on Rob's agenda, arrange a call. And we've done this in the past as well, because people are taking big decisions and moving to Canada. Like Dave is looking at moving with his wife and possibly with kids. These are big decisions. So you need to be 100% sure of your choices. And we understand that. So we can certainly facilitate a call and have Rob with us on the call and discuss these opportunities. Okay? Very good. Max Clemente, is it a restriction age-wise to apply as a student? I'm 50 years old.
For Carleton, no, we don't have any age restrictions. So we'll assess you academically and based on the research interests you have for graduate study, of course. The only part to consider, I guess, is the visa application. I think generally speaking, they're looking for a logical progression. So as long as the new credential builds on something you've already done and it makes sense in terms of career goals, perhaps, then. But as far as the university is concerned, absolutely not.
Exactly. And we've had clients, as a matter of fact, in 2020 and 2021, Max, I can tell you that students from 35 to 45 and 45 to 55 have been the biggest increase in number of students we've seen. And this is, I think, completely related to COVID and also to some of the situation in Mexico and Latin America, political, economical situation that are not going the way some people would want to. Most people will want to, I think. And then some people are deciding to try something else, try somewhere else. For themselves, for their families, for their children. And so with the institution, it's not an issue at all. For Canada, for the immigration part, you need to show, like Rob was saying, a progression in your studies, or why, maybe a letter. We advise our students to prepare a letter saying why, what is your letter of intent? Where are you going with this? Why are you doing this? And that's a big part of the approval process. And also, so you do lose points because of your age, but at the same time, you also gain points because of your experience. You have life experience, you have work experience, and that's big for Canada as well. So it's not all negative. On the contrary, there's lots of advantage as well. Okay, Alex, I'm 36, basically, and I'm single. What are my chances to go there to study languages? Piece of cake.
Yeah.
You can apply today and get a visa in 2 weeks, and you're off at Carleton in 3 weeks. And the next semester starts in May. So you're basically, there's no problem, right, Rob?
Agreed.
So Alex, we have there's an intake in May, right, for languages?
We do, yeah. So the summer intake is a little smaller than other programs, but we do have a summer intake as well. Yeah.
Okay. So, sí, para sacar la visa, Alex, es rápido. Entonces, puede ser, ahorita nuestros tiempos son de 2 a 4 semanas. 36 es muy buen año. Si vas para mejorar tu inglés, no hay ningún problema. No anticipo ningún problema para tu aplicación. Y tenemos nuestro propio departamento de visa que te voy asistiendo con los documentos que necesitamos para presentar tu visa, pero no hay ningún problema. ¿Ok? Adelante. Muy bien. A lot of questions now. Monica Santiago, hello Bruno. I'm a radiologist technologist, and I have a BA in teaching English. I'm 42 years old. Do I have any chance to validate my career as a radiologist technologist? I guess rad tech. There, maybe taking a course. What do you say to that, Rob?
Yeah, I think there's certainly programs that could be beneficial for you, for sure. It's not necessarily something that Carleton has, but I would say if you're looking at the Canadian context, there's other institutions that probably would be helpful for that.
Yeah, I would say, Monica, you would, the path to Canada, if you want to come here to work and stay and immigrate, the path definitely is through education. So maybe doing a postgraduate in something health related, something in radiology or something, a focus, maybe slightly different or maybe more advanced. I think a 2-year program as a postgraduate program or postgrado could be beneficial. Your experience would be much appreciated, and I'm sure you could work in your field or any other field while you're studying, and 100% sure you get work upon graduation. So that would be my advice, Monica. But yes, there are. We remember in class we work with over 300 institutions in Canada, including Carleton. And some of them are better suited for you than others. So we can certainly guide you in that direction. Okay. Thanks for the question, Monica. Okay. Well, it is 6:16 here in Vancouver. It is 9:16 in Ottawa. It's nighttime. I don't want to take abuse of your time there, Rob. We've talked for about an hour and 15 minutes. I think we'll leave it there for today. Well, if anyone else has questions, I know we didn't get to see all the questions, but if anyone else has questions, please send it to us. You have our contact information. We can contact Rob to answer some of them if we cannot answer them with you. I would give you an opportunity, Rob, to maybe there's something else you would like to share with us, and if not, simply an opportunity to finish the webinar, and I'll come back with some last minute announcements.
That's great. Thank you, Bruno, so much for this. Thank you so much to Class Education for facilitating this too. It's a really nice opportunity to sort of get to know you guys. I know in a normal time, we might be doing this in person somewhere. I think we're all looking forward for things to get back to normal, but nevertheless, this is great. Yeah, Carleton's a wonderful opportunity. I think if you're looking at studying in Canada, we have diverse programs in a really beautiful city on a great campus. We have a long history of welcoming international students to Carleton, including students from Mexico and across Latin America, from the US and around the world. So really, if you come to Carleton, you're part of this international community. When you weigh that, sort of the benefits from that, being able to engage and to learn about yourself and about the world while preparing for your professional life, I think that's something Carleton's really good at. The fact that we're sort of recognized for that with the top 10 status for graduate employability speaks really highly to some of the experiences we can provide you with as you progress through your degrees. So certainly preparing for something like aerospace engineering while being able to also take philosophy and build your resume simultaneously while getting paid, it's pretty great. I'll close by saying I'm a former international student. I've studied away from Canada myself. I did my graduate studies in the UK. For me, that was an amazing choice. I think an investment in international education is just a tremendous investment, really, because obviously you're going to get a credential and that's going to take you places that you never thought you might go. But just learning about yourself and about the world by doing that as well is something that I think you won't regret. So I applaud you for considering this. I hope Carleton's on your list, but wherever you go, I wish you all the very best. Thank you so much for your attention tonight.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Rob, that, studying abroad is a great opportunity. It's an eye opener in all the different ways that it can affect your life trajectory. So yeah, totally something, and especially in a country like Canada that's already so international, with great academic opportunities, work opportunities, and even immigration opportunities. So that's a great one. All right, we have another question that just came up. Juan David Galeano. I remember UC, would it be University of Canada? University of Carleton, sorry. I guess not Carleton University, maybe. Has a GMAT waiver for the MBA.
Yeah, actually, that's something. So my main focus at the university really is the undergraduate level. Yeah. We may offer a GMAT waiver in some circumstances. I've actually never heard that before, but I certainly could follow up for you. So maybe perhaps through class, we could engage on email and get the answer to you to that question.
Okay. Yeah. If it's we can get back to you, Juan David, and if you leave us your contact information, or if you fill up the format, and that applies to anyone that's on the call. If you have more questions, or if you're interested in getting more information, or even pursuing a call with Rob and us, please fill up the format, contact format on your social network, and send it to us, or take our contact information at the bottom of the screen and do get in touch with us. Okay. Muy bien, pues espero haber contestado la mayor cantidad de preguntas. Espero que esta sesión informativa haya sido útil para ustedes, para ayudarles en tomar mejores decisiones para ir a estudiar a Canadá. Para eso hacemos estos espacios. Yo con eso me despido. Rob, thank you very much again, and thank you for your time, and thank you to Carleton University for making the space, making the time, and getting to letting us know about your program, the virtues of the universities and the city. A vibrant, beautiful city in Canada, which I love personally, and definitely one of the top cities in Canada to live, to study, to work, and to immigrate. So again, thank you very much, Rob, for your time. It's getting late there for you. Yo me despido y nos vemos el próximo jueves para nuestro próximo episodio de Class TV. Y recuerden que los martes también a las 6 p.m. hora de México tenemos nuestros Instagram Live. Y con eso les dejo con un video que hicimos en diciembre de 2021, un video que les permite conocer un poco más gente del equipo de Class Education, este gran equipo que pone este espacio informativo cada semana para ustedes, para que vean a qué nos dedicamos, por qué hacemos lo que hacemos. Espero que lo disfruten y nos vemos el próximo jueves. Muchas gracias a todos. Buenas noches. Good night, Rob.
Have a good night, everyone. Bye.
Yo atribuiría el éxito de Class Education básicamente a tres cosas. Primero, la gran experiencia que tenemos en el mercado, que son más de 10,000 alumnos que hemos enviado en el extranjero a través de los 27 años de experiencia.
Pues conformamos un equipo responsable, amigable.
Saber que la educación siempre trae grandes beneficios.
Se siente muy, muy satisfactorio formar parte de cambiar la vida de una persona.
Class Education ha demostrado que en tiempos retadores, cuando se trabaja en equipo y con un gran liderazgo, se pueden lograr cosas muy grandes.
El negocio de Class Education claramente es apoyar a la gente para ir a estudiar en el extranjero, pero el verdadero impacto de lo que hacemos es literalmente cambiar la vida de la gente.
Me apasiona el hecho de ver las caras, que ahorita es por Zoom, pero es el hablar con los estudiantes o con los papás y que al final me digan, al final de esa llamada que me digan, me aclaraste todas mis dudas.
Lo más satisfactorio es cuando pues un estudiante te dice gracias.
Y el empatizar con los papás de yo he mandado a mis hijas, te entiendo como papá, y saber qué es lo que están buscando para sus hijos. Creo que eso fue el match perfecto que me hizo quedarme en Class.
Lo que diferencia el equipo de Class Education para mí es el hecho que tenemos un gran compromiso hacia el servicio.
Una de las cosas que más me gusta de estar en Class Education es que las crisis que otros ven, nosotros los vemos siempre como áreas de oportunidad.
Es algo súper enriquecedor. Si bien pues todos tenemos un trabajo, una labor, aquí es el trabajo de cumplir sueños.
Trabajando con el equipo de Class Education me siento súper bien en el día a día porque todos somos individuos que buscamos lo mismo, que es hacer crecer a nuestros estudiantes.
Me sigue emocionando, me sigue dando una emoción increíble cuando sale su visa, cuando ya tiene su vuelo, cuando le damos la plática de salida.
Emocionados, te bendicen y te dan las gracias por haberles ayudado a hacer su trámite, por haber cumplido su sueño.
Con Customer Experience lo que queremos lograr es no solamente que se quede la guía en el proceso desde que tú nos contactas hasta que tomes el avión, sino que vayan más allá y que ya que estás en la escuela, si tienes algún problema, dudas que puedes tener estando ahí en la escuela, que nos busques, que nosotros te ayudamos a tratar de resolver todo eso.
Si alguien necesita apoyo de otro departamento, nos apoyamos. Ese es el objetivo de clase, porque necesitamos cambiar una vida de una persona.
Pero creo que cuando trabajas en equipo y escuchas a tu gente, puedes reinventarte, que fue lo que hicimos en este caso. Nos reinventamos, nos fuimos a la parte online.
Hemos estado innovando a raíz de la pandemia, todo el tema de mayor exposición en redes, el tema de estar presentes en los webinars.
Yo describiría Class Education en 3 palabras: pasión, experiencia y seguridad.
Amistad significa compañerismo y significa sueños. Calidad, experiencia y cambio.
Profesionalismo, compañerismo, es una familia líder en el mercado, es confiable y sobre todo seguro.
Class Education es respaldo, experiencia y pasión por servir.
En Class Education todos estamos conscientes de la importancia que es hacer realidad los sueños de las personas.
Así es que no lo dudes, hazlo con clase.
Hazlo con clase. Hazlo con clase.
Hazlo con clase.
Hazlo con clase.